Okay. This started. Okay. So, water, drink water is where we're at. And everything looks good. So today, my goal will be to get login working with the API. So normally when I do Blazor stuff, I'm used to having the code interact with the database, etc. But in this case, I want to split the client away from the actual code, so that it's just using the API. Benefit there is that we will be able to put whatever UI we want on this without tying it specifically to the API. Oh, that's the goal, rather not the benefit, I suppose. It could be deemed a detriment, but it means we can put whatever view we want on this, and that means that anyone has a different opinion on a UI framework, etc. We can put different UI frameworks on there and see what it looks like. For now, I need to kind of figure out how to use Blazor Web Assembly properly. So I'm going to probably make some mistakes, probably stumble on a lot of this stuff, because UI is really not where I'm happy. And yeah, let's see where I head. So I'm going to start, let's see, public void login, right? Task. And then this is the hard part, because I don't know if the regular Blazor events work here or what. So async await login. Let's see. Path.delay. 2 seconds. Let's do string sample false. There. Or out. Sample there. And then let's do sample equals world. So what I expect is I'm going to find errors. I'm going to be doing things weird or wrong. Oh, good day. How are you doing? Well, so we'll learn. We'll figure out what is Blazor and what is Blazor Web Assembly and what the differences are for me. I haven't looked. I haven't studied. I'm just going to go in blind. Okay, so that says hello. I hit login. It says world. Okay. I'm clearly a pro. What is the master next? You good? Made my first few PRs at work for the first time in forever. Nice. Yeah, I don't do much in the way of PRs recently. Okay, so what I'm going to do is let's see if we're getting, how would we inject this? Would this be this way? Private user service. User service. Will this work? Just start with long-winded assignments and never get merged. Oh, I know that feeling. That sounds very familiar. In the user service, I've got the authenticate, so let's see if this actually does work. So await user service to authenticate. Now how do I get? How about you? Are you holding it well? Work is a lot of PHP. So this is my fun, right? Streaming has definitely become my mental health. Now, some people struggle with streaming because it's very hard to get started. You have to build up a community of some form to make it like more interactive. But I think people that show up here every day, know what they're getting, happy to hang out and chat, etc. And it really does help my mental health to have other professionals who care what they do come into the stream. So, yeah. Like through COVID, I was fine being home. That didn't bother me at all. Didn't stress me at all. But yeah. That sounds terrible with PHP. At least my long-winded projects are kind of interesting. Yeah. I mean, PHP isn't bad. But PHP, from my experience so far, is often just not used very well. Not written very well. It's not used very well. And it becomes a very big struggle to optimize or to improve because it's just mess on top of mess. So yeah, it means that my mental health is pretty much tied to stream right now. Yeah, I just had a bad experience with PHP, to be honest. PHP is not something I'm right. Not. Yeah. It's, PHP is not something I'm unfamiliar with. Back. This is probably my most productive couple of years. But I wrote an MVC framework in PHP. Right. I was starting to build an CMS system, and PHP 5 had kind of written an MVC platform. So PHP is not something I've been necessarily afraid of using. It's just when it's written badly, it's just really bad. So it's more damaging to me when it's written poorly, right? Like I know that this is me doing PHP as a hobby even 11, 12 years ago, but at least I was trying to do some things well. And I did that to get myself more familiar with other things. I'll let that one go. But, yeah. it held that because of I don't permit swearing. So I get that one. My older brother is all about PHP. People who love PHP really love PHP. Okay, so this can work this way. Let's have a look. Let's make sure. So let's do public string email. Public string email. Public string password. And does this say line equals email or word. Okay, so then that's not hot reloading. So I think a stream, especially if someone of my experience, is also a professional demonstration. And you treat it like it is a job interview, then it's easy to get on with. Like if I wanted to show someone what I could do, I say, go look at the stream, look at what I talk about, look at how I code, look at my opinions, look at my thoughts, you know. Can be made. Why can they be made private? I don't. But hot reload still doesn't work, which is the challenge. Oh, it's going to launch every time. That we need to fix. Okay, so can I debug this? So if I do, I think it's Bob. Oh, test.com. Bob is the password. Email, password. Okay. Okay. I didn't throw an exception. It got completely swallowed, but it didn't client. Oh, client's null, that's why. Why? Add scope, TCP client, user service. That's fine. We'll worry about that afterwards. Build services, add scope. Microsoft. Good day, how are you doing? Why do you not get any client? Should inject it. What is it? Functions. JCP. Yeah. So for anyone who hasn't joined before, what I'm working on right now is putting a client on our stream project. So we have, I started a project a couple of months ago to do agile project management. Right, that's going to be a closed source project that I work on stream, you know, to share some of the components. There's a lot of architecture stuff in that. It's a big project. What it kind of highlighted was the fact that people don't necessarily want to just see that all the time. Sometimes they want to tinker with things. They want to actually get access to code, etc. So the water project is a small application with the goal of being something we evolve and improve over time. It's written right now in a very rough manner with very little organization. The idea will be to keep adding onto that and re-architecting it and building it out with better practices as we go, and being able to put whatever UI we want on there. So I'm starting with Blazor Web Assembly. I haven't used Blazor Web Assembly before, but the goal will be, if you want to write a React app or a Vue app or a Svelte app or an Angular app, you can contribute a version of that app to the project, and it will work with the same APIs that everyone else's does. So yeah, that's what we're kind of working on right now. So I'm working on a Blazor app to log in. I wouldn't say that it's at a good point to contribute to right now, but it is there with that goal. So what I'm looking for is add HTTP client user service. That's what I want to do. That's better. That'll give me what I want, I believe. This is test@test.com. And as always, if there's any questions, thoughts, opinions, etc., it's okay to share them. Whether you be new or experienced, if you see something I'm doing that you don't agree with, shout it out, it's fine. The stream is not necessarily about getting coding done, it's about learning and growth, so I'm not going to do much of that. If error connection refused, is this a calls thing? Or is this let's say it's not running thing? I'll definitely do it. For the past couple of weeks, I haven't had. So I lost one of the rubber caps for the earphones, and I couldn't find it, so I just been wearing the earphone with the stem. And I found a new one yesterday, so I was like, okay, I'll put that on. But now I sound to myself really muffled. It's putting me off a little bit. Bob. Okay. There you go. That's a cause. Okay, that's a cause problem. Why didn't my breakpoints hit this time? Well, that one I know why it didn't hit, but why didn't that breakpoint hit? It was hitting before. Let's go over here. Cause. Allow all. I always mess this part up. So let's see. Loader, services, add, pause, configure dot, add policy, default, policy. I'm not gonna pretend any header. I'm gonna make it super primitive right now. We can worry about what that means later on. So with that in place, you go down here and you use cause. Use cause. I think it's just default. There you go. With debugging, we're figuring things out. Tightening up security and stuff should not be a concern straight away. Okay. Lesson learned. I need 3. Okay, so we have test@test.com. Bob. Got in there. We got that. We're logged in. We got our token. There you go. So we have login almost working. So now, I guess we have challenge. What do we do with this? What's the right way to store this for Blazor Web Assembly? So I've got a token. That token now needs to be passed with all future requests. If I make this private string token, right? Make that nullable. Default to null. And then we go and say what do we want to say? Let's figure out another page first. We go too far. Blazor component. Let's call this log. So I have home. Do this. What I kind of want to say is in here, right? Like override. Sensitive override on initialize. What we want to say is if user service dot is authenticated, like that, navigate to log. Except I think I'm being placated there with a bit of AI. I don't think that method actually exists. Yeah. There is no navigation manager, so that might be a thing. Private navigation manager. Navigation dot navigate to, okay. Log. So to start with, what we're going to do is go into our user service and set that to true, right? Because what I want to see is that it will do that if it's set. And then we'll worry about the rest. Yeah. You immediately fail. Why is that? Helpful. It's a bet. Navigation manager isn't a thing. One routes are ambiguous. That changed. It did not. It was trying to redirect his stuff. Okay. This should go to /log. There you go. Go to home, it goes back to log. Okay. So now let's make that. Now, persistence wise, this is set. Will this be a singleton? Let's learn. I guess it's a drink. I'm halfway through the day, I'm getting tired. Yeah, no worries. Okay, so persist token in Blazor Web Assembly. Fetching data works. Blazor local storage. Okay. So Blazor local storage. Library to provide access to local storage. APIs for Blazor applications. An additional benefit using this library is that it will handle serializing, deserializing files with saving or retrieving. Okay. Okay, so we inject our local storage and get it and set it. Okay, so that's what we want to do. So what we're going to do is include that library. Blazor local storage. Looks like there's a few more pieces to that as well. .NET 7. Awesome. Session storage, local storage. Let's test it, see if it works in .NET 8. Can't see why it wouldn't, but back with the soda. Nice. What's your favorite soda? Coke. Nice. Okay, so we can do that. Now in here, we do multiple injection. Okay, let's find out. Local storage service. Storage. So what I want to do here is when I get the token, we want to store that token. Set item async, and that's going to be token. Basic. There's nothing wrong with that. Coke's a nice drink. And then no, I want that. Turn true. Hold on, so that can't be anything. What? Method authenticator returned by user. That's fine. I'll worry about that in a second. Well, it returns a string. I mean, I'm being idiotic. There you go. Really cool. The students here are maintaining their own self-checkout drink sales system. Huh. Nice. See, I wish as a teenager I had been challenged in that way. I think being able to collaborate with people. So one of the things I will love doing is collaborating. One of the things I don't get to do very often is actually collaborate. Nice. And doing that sort of stuff as a teenager would have really, I think, pushed me further forward. Just cool stuff that has a practical application, but is easy to learn. Well, it's not easy to learn. There's some difficulties in doing it, but it's just fun. Yeah. Okay, so if this, then navigate to right, And then here we'll say, yeah, so this is uni, so early 20s people or very late teens, I guess, if you start contributing immediately. Yeah. Like I look back and so when I was 19, I started work. I was working on a old Unix system and I was the youngest person by far there. The next oldest person was in his late 20s. The next youngest person was in his late 20s. So, I was the kid. I spent 5 years doing analysis and talking to people about what features they needed and then implementing them on my own. Then I went to work for a company that did use the same software, the same platforms, but did car parking stuff. And I got to work on a project there, and I got to do the mobile stuff there, but on my own. And then I got to work I came over here and I got to work at a company. We got to build something from scratch. So there was a lot of heavy collaboration in the beginning, a lot of discussion. It's very energizing when you get to throw out ideas. And when you are developing on your own, there's no sounding board. There's no, that's a bad idea. There's only an idea that you feel is good and you can implement. So you don't have any check there. So I've only once in my entire career have I actually got to work with other people on any sort of major scale. The next place I went to, I kind of led the project. So it's very different when you're leading a project because people push back more. People push back less. They don't push back on. They still push back on stupid ideas, right? Or inefficient ideas because they've got different experience, and you have to open your mind up. But it's very different, and I love to be in that energetic, collaborative phase. Also sucks when you just I'm not saying that word on stream, as I like to call it. You're just being told what to do by your manager. But yeah, I get that. And I think that ruins software when people are just, hey, do what I'm telling you to do, right? Take all the creative flair out of it, take all the energy and all the passion out of it, just do a job. It's not fun. That's why the colleagues are the most important thing in a workplace. Yeah, I mean, it's why I care so much about doing this, right? Where I think there is, and I said it yesterday, right? There's two types of people generally. There's the people that do this for a job. All the best to them, right? If they can just turn it off and just walk away at the end of the day and just come back tomorrow and do the job, those are the people that will generally do the best by do this. Okay. Right? The manager directing them. But then there's the people who love it and take it very seriously and are passionate about what they're doing. And I love working with those sorts of people. One of my goals would be for the Agile platform to actually become a thing. And then I can build those sorts of teams. Right? That would be my career goal. Right? To build teams that I know can do great things, and try and see what happens when you put, really talented people in a room, try and build great software with the focus on communication and direction and not just random throwing ideas together. This one is one of the benefits of working at uni. Basically, everyone is passionate about programming computer science. Yeah, I can imagine it's quite energizing at times. Oh dear. My breathing is not good today. Okay, so we're going to create async ascall is authenticated as a method because I have to await it. Path token equals await now, do I have a validate call? For right now, we're just going to return token is not null. Right? But ultimately, we probably want a validate call to make sure it calls back to the server. Rain. Okay, so if we're authenticated, we'll navigate. If we then authenticate, we'll navigate. Bob. Okay, now we should be able to go back there and it'll navigate us to log. There you go. Can't get back to log. Okay. So, implement basic logging with navigation, log, Blazor, storage, caption token. I'm trying to push this off my machine as frequently as possible because then if people want to review it or tinker with it, they can do. And they don't have to wait for me to do a massive commit at the end of the stream. So I'm trying to be good about that. So if you see me making a mistake there, feel free to call it out. Yeah, going back to the whole passion thing, right? Having an environment where you are amongst other people who care about what they're doing, I think you can learn a lot. It's why streaming is so cool because there's a lot of energy. There's a lot of different opinions and ideas and thoughts, and it's kind of it can be a sounding board. Now, if the streamer is not open to ideas, that's a problem. And I worry that the way I speak or the way I present often makes me look like I'm not open to that sort of stuff. Because I don't get a lot of, it's funny. I watch someone like Sito and I see yourself, Laurel, like, oh, you could do this, you could do this. Like, you're kind of itching to correct things or change things. Not necessarily backseating in that way, but there's things that could be done better. And I see a lot of streams like that where the stream chat is kind of involved in the code because they're like correcting things. But I don't get a lot of that. It kind of goes to that, collaborative nature of things. And I don't know whether it's my presentation style or just the way I code that makes it less appealing to do that, I suppose. When you're together with a group of programmers and you can work on stuff and you can tinker with stuff, and you can split tasks up and stuff, is that's a lot of fun. I actually once did a hackathon, and I was working with two of the smartest people I've ever met. One now works at Google and one was at Amazon, or did. And we were messing around with automating one of the early drones and actually doing pathing. This is long before drones in the modern form. It's one of the first parrot drones, which is a big foam thing. It was actually trying to program it to actually follow paths as part of the hackathon. And yeah, it was and do like image recognition, so it would do tracking. He was thinking of doing that long before other drones were doing that. So that was one of the most fun evenings I've ever had, because it was just tinkering with code, looking at results, and thinking about how you might do things and whatnot. And yeah, it was fun. Anyway. I think it comes from two things. You're expecting more high-level feedback, which is difficult with Twitch chat. Okay. You're working in a domain where you are very experienced, so at least I can't give any valuable feedback. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm not, I think I might have termed that incorrectly, in that I'm not sort of looking for someone to say, hey, you're doing that wrong, because it's fun. It's more, it doesn't seem to come my way, and it doesn't matter what I work on, right? Yeah, I mean, it's a collaborative nature. This the nicety of Twitch, right? People will help and can help. And it's fun. It's a fun environment when you're working with people that actually are engaged and stuff. And yeah, I'm not looking to do anything other than share my coding. Right, that's all I really care about. Is, hey, this is me coding, and if you have an opinion, you can share it, and know that if you've got questions, you can ask them. That's the sort of environment I like. I think you learn the best when you open your mind and accept you're not always right about something. And collaboration does that. Whereas it's something you often don't get in a work environment. Especially if you've got a manager telling you what to do. You don't get any collaboration there. You don't get a say. What do I want to do now? So now I want to validate that I can get to this endpoint, right? So this endpoint API consumption, we should have what we're going to do is we're going to have a field log what number placeholder. There's no placeholder on this one. It's default 0. Private int fluid ounces. Zero fine equals fluid ounces consumed. label or equals okay. Then we'll do log assumption log private async task log function. Okay. So we have a user service. What do I want to write here? I'm going to put this all in the user service for now, and we can talk about good design later. That gives me less messing around with tokens, things like that. What I was thinking about there is there a way to do that, but I don't think there is. Equal. What did you offer me then? Don't think that's what I want. I think that's more what I want. Okay, I may think. I forget you get that. Okay, so that's functional. So yeah, okay. I do want that. So public async task for log consumption. So what I was trying to do there is if I have an instance of this, that I only call this the first time, but I can still retrieve it anytime I want, right? So the lazy says, okay, it's not going to do anything by default, but then when you do call it, ask for it, give me this thing. That's what I'm aiming for there. So that if I call is authenticated, I'll get the token value. But then if I call is authenticated again, I'm not going to make that call. I'm just going to get that string back. That's my hope there. So don't keep calling, because ultimately I want to make that a server call, right? So I'm going to have I don't use lazy very often, so I might be wrong with my usage with that. But we'll see. Token equals await. A white space. Yeah, we'll do that. The actual assumption fluid ounces consumed, yeah. Again, we're not going to get to that part yet. Do that. Then if response response success code. Okay. And again, we're going to put everything in that service right this second because it's a simple thing. We need to inject private user service. See, for me, this makes this more confusing. So I'm writing C# code. I'm writing Apex. Good morning. I'm writing all this stuff, but it runs in the client. It just blows my mind. That's even a thing now. Wait. Okay. So there we go. We should be able to do this now. Okay. So we're logged in. Log water consumption. I think I want you to log consumption here. We'll log 128 fluid ounces consumed. We'll get an error. Shame. F11. Yeah. C# this is JavaScript. This is Blazor Web Assembly. Log consumption. So what's going wrong? Yeah, I bet it's not lazy. I know, right? You know what I forget to do every single day recently? I forget to actually announce the fact that I've gone live on the stream. I forgot again. I didn't put post in my channel or anything. Okay, log that. Why are you going wrong? Failed to fetch API consumption. An opaque response to your needs. Set the request. Awful. Didn't I have allow any origin, allow any header, allow any method? Does that not work for this piece? Hey Delta, how you doing? Okay, I don't know about Blazor. I only use Alpine.js. Okay. Definitely take a look at some point. You're more than welcome to check this out and do an Alpine.js version when it's to a good point. Just to prove the case. Again, once this application is to a point where it's kind of usable, I would definitely advise encourage people to kind of check it out and do stuff. So what makes Alpine.js better? Right, like the button draw. Oh, you know what I didn't do? Hey, Jav. How you doing? Jav's P or Jav SP? Welcome. Create an interceptor class, set headers to resolve calls. That does remind me what I didn't do. I had no point set my headers, right? Basically pagination has logic, like components have any logic in it. Okay. No idea. Don't write on JavaScript. Do this first. There you go. That's definitely missing. Let's validate that's not the problem. Because we've got calls. We've got calls disabled because I don't want to play. Looks like inline JS. 128. You still want to break? Why is this breaking on calls though? That's the part that I'm actually. I get the whole like a 401 authorized. Okay. Headers, authorization. Why are you putting that in quotes? Pretty sure that won't work. But that won't matter anyway because that's not working. Okay, so the actual challenge now is why doesn't this work? You should hit this breakpoint. I want to validate one thing. So I appreciate the creating an interceptor class. We do need to add the headers. Right now I've removed calls, but I think it's the 401. So why that's throwing that exception, I don't know. But I need this to work first. So what am I missing? Something in here is not applying properly. Thank you for the look, Apex. I appreciate it. Let me. This is cheating, but I want to make sure. Liquid Sky. Tenant management tickets definitely has auth in place. Authentication, authorization, authentication. Okay, so I don't think it matters on the builder. I think it matters on the service, the app. This order matters. So, okay, so what we'll do is we will go here. We will log in. We'll take our token. Zoom. And we'll get 401. So this isn't calls that's causing the issue here, right? It's generally not authenticating properly. I don't think that matters, right? that's not making a difference. So why is that not working? Is the challenge first. Those is app pack. I'm not getting any output from. How do I validate this? The bearer by default, yeah. Token validation. Oh. A signing key, not my audience. Try that now. I'm signing the key wrong. So that looks healthy, doesn't it? Okay, so let's try. That's fine. Okay. Let's at least see if we can get that through the app now. So, nope. We'll get the error. 7244 API consumption. From origin 7017. API 7244. API. Why? So why does login work? What I'm trying to do is not to get involved in the cause stuff. That I want as a separate discussion, a focused discussion on how to secure the thing properly. So obviously we're going to be doing the options there for anyone watching the stream once we get to a certain point to go ahead, check out this code. If you're interested in looking at what we've got already, you're more than welcome to go to the GitHub repo for this project. But the idea is that once we get to a certain point, then I can start looking at PRs. And one of the easiest things to demonstrate is people's, abilities with client side. So demonstrating different client side technologies for this. So that's a key goal. So calls I don't want to get bogged down in, but what am I missing? No modals. What am I missing where I am allowed to log in, which is a post, but I'm not allowed to post to that API endpoint? It's authenticated. Now we know that works if it's got the right token. Because I want to write client-side models. Not right now. I mean, again, the goal of this is so that if you decide, right, what I want to do is build an application that has a back end. From a client-side perspective, it's entirely up to you how you implement those API calls. So if, that'll be the goal, right? So you can do whatever you want on the client. And just the way I've done it so far is I've put Blazor Web Assembly .tbd, right? So if you wanted to do Blazor as well, and you had a different idea on how it should look or how it should behave, you could do blazor.delta, blazor.wa.delta, or blazor.delta. Right? If someone wants to do a React app, you can do React dot and some initials just to indicate that it's a different client. And we can test and look at different clients and different opinions on how things should work. So I kind of want to make the API solid enough first before people start wanting to do that, because I don't want people to have to go ahead and try and implement backend features too quickly, because then I'll lose track of that. Yeah, so the option's there. It will be there as soon as we get this working, right? So you're more than welcome to take a look later. But so I get Jarv's comment. I just don't. Maybe I'm fighting a tide here. Blazor Web Assembly. With origins, any method. That's the difference. Credentials. Okay. That's the difference. So in here, I actually want to do policy.allow with origins. HTTPS, localhost 7077, policy.allow credentials. Let's try it that way. This stuff won't change. Obviously, we'd have to say, oh, we're going to complain. It's been blocked from origin. And allow credentials. Yeah. Yeah. Ah. Hold on. That would be bad. Let's implement this properly. Right. If it's not running inside the debugger, that's going to go through there and then just error out. Right. So let's go and implement the actual piece. Make sure that the endpoint fully works, and then come back on the calls concept. So what that person was saying then was, hey, it was actually throwing an exception, but that logged as a cause error in the front end. So I have seen, obviously, that the debugging is spotty on that piece. Ooh, Penny, how you doing? So let's do. So again, this application right now is not going to be. It's not going to stay like this. There's some things in here that you really don't want to do, or they're built deliberately so that we can come back around and review and reapply and apply better methods. So I'm going to say, how am I going to say this? This is going to be consumption record. Sounds kind of want a synonym. Synonym for consumption. Ingestion. Intake. Bodily function. Okay, consumption is consumption. But currently good normal job work that needs a lot of time between iterations, so I can do jam work in between. And you. We're making progress on this app. Blazor Web Assembly is coming together. We're able to log in and store the token, and now we're just trying to log our first water consumed. And then we'll go on to what comes next. But yeah, making progress. How's your game doing? Blazor Web Assembly, yeah. So I'll show you in a second. But yeah. Haven't checked it out yet. Kite is developing a very cool looking game for Pirate Software Game Jam. I recommend you go check out when you get a chance. It's doing a hacking game and you kind of navigate between different things and run programs. It's very cool looking. He's using Godot. So public int ID. We need user ID, right? Public int user ID. Game is running smooth. Let's say another playtest where we made a bug that I can't reproduce. What's the whole game? In assume nice. That is a cool emote. I like it. Hey, thanks. And I want to switch banks. My bank is charging me $10 on every transaction into the stock market, and the high interest accounts are just as terrible. I think below 1%. Yeah. I don't look at our bank enough. I really should do some more review. Public date time zoomed on. So right now we'll take a consumed record as just being it's now. There's no, you don't want to, hey, I consumed it a week last Friday, right? You don't need that. Well, talking of Fridays, so coming up next Friday, I think we're going to do another coding challenge. I just can't remember the Discord. So if you're interested and you want to check it out, in the Discord there's a coding challenges. Go to language. Have a great day. Take care. Why did it let that through? That's annoying. Absolutely my largest admin field. Ouch. I know we're all adults, but yeah. Believe me, I swear my fair share off stream. Yes. So right now we'll track consumed on. We'll assume fluid ounces. Do I keep repeating that? Okay, so naming stuff, right? It's a consumption record. It is consumed. So the measurement is what matters the most. And I want to be clear about what it represents, right? If I just put amount, right? Then I have to know it's fluid ounces, right? So everywhere else my code is going to say it's fluid ounces, or if I want to convert it to liters or gallons or milliliters or whatever. But if I'm being honest, milliliters would probably be the best. Milliliters might be the better base unit of measurement. Have a look. 32 fluid ounces in milliliters. Yeah. But then you're not going to say I consume 946.353 milliliters anyway. You say, okay, I consumed 950 milliliters, right? Which is going to milliliters to fluid ounces. 32.12. Thinking it's probably easy to go to metric first and then convert. So store everything as milliliters. The vast majority of viewers in the stream are European. If I put it to vote, I'm going to Americanize it for right now. I'm going to Americanize it, and then we can debate it later on. But the point is, the name of that matters. Calling that amount means that it's obscure as to what it represents. If I call it amount, I can change that out, right? I can say, hey, so if I call it now amount, then I can make the decision as to fluid ounces or milliliters in the application. But I then can't switch it, right? Without converting all the data. Over engineering time, amount and unit. This is exactly why we're doing this application. Right? This is exactly why. Class fluid amount that holds amount and type. So I'm going to frustrate you in that I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do any more thought on this other than I'm going to capture the amount. We're going to see the difficulties later on. I know we are. Experience tells me we are. Right? But this is the sort of stuff we can talk about and talk about the design and how we might approach it and stuff, right? This is exactly why this is useful as a stream. Isn't there libraries for that stuff? Anyone wants to go and look and have a look? Yeah, you're more than welcome. Fine. We'll do the DB migration. I'm going to do DB migration for this. We're going to move on and capture this value first. It's pragmatic, but it just highlights, right? Your brain started worrying on, what options do we have here? What can we do? Oh, we could do this. And if you let that voice in your head take control right now, you're going to spend a long time putting in a system that you don't know you need. I was mostly joking with the fluid amount class. Your point, though, is well made, right? The over-engineering can creep in, right? that was the it should be a struggle, but you can. It's easy to do. How do I? Hold on. Let me see if I can do this. So public DB set consumption. It's not called consumptions. What is this? This is kind of a log. There is a lib. Well, I do understand. I think units would be nothing but benefit. Also, I agree it is a log. Yeah. But again, I'm not saying it's not going to be done. I think it's what I'm trying units done. Nice. Thank you, Kenny. Maybe it's 10 times. But this is the problem, right? This is what we often do in software development. We have a job, right? And we have to be pragmatic and realize, how do we move on, but come back and fix it later, right? So if I call that fluid ounces, I've bound myself to that decision right now, and later on I have to rename that column. If I call that amount and everything captures fluid ounces right now, nothing says that I can't change this later. Right? You're not wrong with the units and stuff, right? We can talk about those sorts of things, right? And that actually should be a float probably, but the purpose of this is to discuss this, but not over-engineer it, right? Deal with unit as yep. Well, that's reality. You don't know everything that's going to come later on, right? That's real software development, right? You can think you can capture every case up front, but when you think you've captured everything, someone will come to you and say, I need this, and you'll be like, oh, right? And that's the point at which you have to be prepared to change things, right? So how do you do that? But that's, again, why I kind of stream stuff and why I keep not being afraid of jumping in, right? Because you're going to have to do that from time to time. You won't be able to convert it later. No, you will. You just have to jump through some hoops, right? So if we make the UI say fluid ounces right now, then the implicit value there is fluid ounces. Later on, if we allow the UI to select the measurement, then we have to worry about, conversion. But again, that's we can avoid that. We can make that decision. Okay, if you go and put in, if you put in 5 because you're measuring gallons or something like that, right? Or liters, that's on you. If it says fluid ounces and you put liters in there, your system's going to be thrown off. But if your numbers all align, it doesn't really matter, even if it says fluid ounces. Right? Now, later on, when we introduce an update to say, I can select your units, and by default it was fluid ounces, your conversions are going to be completely thrown off. Right? And you're going to get user complaints. But that's reality, right? That, again, is you don't know how people are using your software. So you've got to be prepared. So over-engineering in the beginning, you can make an argument for. However, we don't know what we don't know at this point. So let's do what we need to do to move the software forward. Bare minimum. Then we can iterate quicker. This works well because you're a single person working on this actively. A large team would probably prefer making a decision with this. Nope. Again, good, well-written code, good discussion. Without a doubt, this discussion happens, right? it works well in practice with a team as well if your code is kept clean and is not riddled with assumptions. Teams will make assumptions all the time anyway, right? But you've got to make sure your naming is correct. You've got to make sure you are documenting things where necessary. Again, discussing, hey, how does this work? Or making sure you're making classes correctly or functions and actions. So yeah, I get the argument that I'm a single person, but I have done this in practice in bigger teams as well. So it's not completely from lack of experience here. Mr. Jones, good afternoon. I think my argument is that having this column is still bare minimum, even if you're just filling it with fluid ounces before we decide to expose it. I agree that we can use a label and move forward. Right, bare minimum is right. Bare minimum is the amount, right? And then maybe I'm wrong, right? Maybe there's a mistake there, but we should see it quickly, right? As we start to use the application, as we start to build on it, we should see it quickly and be able to change it before anyone actually sees that thing. But right now, overthinking it or overanalyzing that problem could cause us to make bigger assumptions. So it's what you're actually doing is you are trying to expose the assumptions quicker and iterate faster, even if it's in the same cycle. The context of the decision I would make would be intended to be easy to change later, so just put a unit on that, either in docs or in name. Right. Yeah. And again, that's the discussion part, right? Now, I think your way would be good when you define one unit for the complete application and then care in the UI for the conversion. In the case of this, I would use the unit name in the column. So you would go, something like that. But the application is built around fluid ounces. The UI is built around fluid ounces. And right now, there's no requirement to convert because I've just said, hey, I want to capture the value in fluid ounces. That's the PM's question, design, right? Now, in reality, you discussed this beforehand, right? Should be stone bound. But if you're putting it into the column name, you're already showing you have an extensibility point. Yeah, that would be possible. That way people will notice and complain if they expect a different unit. Mr. Strandhorn, good morning. He's big in storing atoms. But again, if the PM has asked for this, right? So, okay, let's imagine this is a discussion that we'd be having before we got to the story. But that's often what the conversations are, Thorolf, is conversations over how you implement something can get derailed by the smallest thing. Right? The thing that might seem trivial will often trip teams up a lot. This conversation is not even silly, right? This conversation is realistic. I would hate to tell you some of the actual conversations I've had in teams, right? Need to store the complete consistency in an array of atoms. Well, if you guys want to implement it as atoms, then go ahead. You can create a fork of this and do what you want with the atom. But I think the consensus is that you would prefer it to store fluid ounces in the table and then do a conversion and offer the units later. So the simplest thing is to call this fluid ounces and always convert to fluid ounces. but do we now store this as a float or a decimal? Float, probably. Yeah. Well, teams, from my experience so far, teams will often get tripped up, not on the bigger things. The bigger things will seem, yeah, we got that. But the little things, the little niggly things that naming can trip people up for a long time. There can be lots of debate around what to call something. There's all manner of things. Now, in reality, what we would have done is we'd have sat down with a PM and said, hey, you want to capture everything as fluid ounces? Okay, what about Europeans? What about people who measure in real units? Right? How do we convert? How do we do that? And that PM might have actually said, no, for right now, we're only aiming at one group. We just need fluid ounces. At which point you have to align. Because if you don't align and you go and say, well, they don't know what they need, we'll do what they need. You could write some assumptions into the code that will get left there, and they are lies later. Right? So I'm happy to leave that as fluid ounces. I think that unit should change. Because otherwise we will have an inaccurate conversion back and forth if we do it later. If we're planning on that. Yeah. So we need to be clear about what we're trying to do. Right? Yeah, avoiding bad names and lies in the code is probably the most important. Yeah. Because again, if we try and put stuff in here now to try and counteract the PM's decision, then we will end up writing things that might not be true, but tell a story. So later on, when you go back to your code, right? If you imagine that your code tells a story, right? Because again, you look at it and say, hey, well, here we do this. It's telling you a story about why you do that, right? So you assume that the PM has told you to do it that way. And that's often what ends up results in a, no, it shouldn't work that way. Why would we ever do it that way? And I've probably been on the end of that one, right? So it's a challenge. You don't want to be writing lies into your code. I suppose the units column might suggest we can convert to other units, even though we only handle ounces, even though it allows for extension in the future. Right. You don't want to put that there too soon, right? If we write fluid ounces there, then our app is fluid ounces right now, so it doesn't really hurt. Later on, if we do conversion, right? So don't write what you don't need, because then it's easy to change later. If you write what you don't need, people will build dependencies around stuff as well. So you could end up with someone having actually used it for something that actually wasn't what you intended. SQLite doesn't support one of these, does it? SQLite. You prevent ambiguity when you name the column like that. True. Again, if we call it amount, knowing that it would change, but we label everything as fluid ounces, is fine. But if we call it fluid ounces and someone writes 5, because they don't want to measure in fluid ounces, they just write whatever number they want. There's nothing preventing them. Well, that's on them anyway. C# SQLite supported data types. But I don't think storing that as an int is a good idea, because then even if we do convert, we'll lose precision. Actually, right now, no, it doesn't matter. It doesn't. On my same argument, it doesn't matter. It's an int. Right, which is why I got started there, because milliliters to fluid ounces, etc. But if we store this as an int right now and everything's in fluid ounces because the app says fluid ounces, our conversion isn't to worry about later. Later on, we can convert the if we decide that the conversion into fluid ounces is the valid way, then we can change the data type of this column and lose nothing. If we change the data type of this column now, then yeah, it doesn't hurt. It doesn't help us. So let's move forward and do this. Right. So we're going to have logs. We now need to repositories, account repository. We don't need any of that anymore. We'll come back to the whole repository stuff later. Anyone who has done any entity framework stuff is going to be triggered by that. We're going to create a consumption repository. That sounds silly, but it's fine. Consumption repository. Void log consumption. So this will take we discuss more. I'll throw in that we technically just have to say glasses of water because who's measuring how much is in the glass? I have a water bottle that I track. I do track my usage and my consumption of water in fluid ounces, so this isn't unrealistic. If you track a glass, then you're going to guess. So this is int user ID, int amount, right? And this is going to be special here. This is IDB context battery application DB context battery high consumption repository. Log function. Probably should make that task. Paste task. Weight using bar context equals weight battery. Not being a very good. No, it does not need anything. It doesn't read. You are weighting two things in the same line. You are weighting the using, but I don't need it, so that's why I'm moving on. Consumption import. Okay. Fluid ounces equals amount. Zoomed on DTU. Okay. Any disagreement with UTC now as a timestamp? So again, this might seem simple, but imagine I want to say how much water have I drunk today. I'm voicing it for the sake of I obviously made the comment. I get that people will understand, but not everyone will. So if I'm logging when I consume the water, if I log that at 8 PM my time, it's technically 1 AM UTC of the next day. I don't know if you want to do unit testing. Oh, we're going to do unit tests. I'm just not focusing on them right now. I'm or moving the application forward. We'll do post tests. Technically, it's only drunk, not consumed, yet your body needs to. Yes, we'll add 5 minutes for the actual consumption. Every time I work with time, I feel like I'm doing something wrong. You are. That's the truth of it. You are. Whatever you thought you did, it's going to be wrong somewhere. So if I say, hey, have I consumed the right amount of water for today? Right? Where is today? If I cross the time zone, right? My time changes. What does that window look like? So when we pull these logs out, we're going to have to offset them to the current time. We're going to have to change the time zone to all times when we do it, right? So there is some challenges in doing times as the UTC now, but it is easy to convert back from UTC now later than it is to just assume one time zone, right? Because by default, this would be the time zone of the server, right? So if I'm hosting the server in New York and you're logging in Germany or, somewhere else, then you are going to log it in New York time. The app should just lock you out for a day if you switch time zone. But you can select the time zone. This causes a lot of challenges. Time zones. But you can't. To get that, I'd have to pull in the full user profile. Yeah, really messy with the definition of a day. To know that I'm recording in a time zone, I'd have to record every single daytime with the time zone attached. So I'd have to build a lot of code around that to do it this way. Right? If I store at UTC now, I can convert back to where the user is and assume that all the date times that match for their day. It sounds like excuses to me. If anyone wants to implement a version of this that looks better, sorry, that sounds really arrogant. No, that has the concept of the user's actual date time in there so that it's easy to track later, feel free. But it will cause a mess. So that's why I raised it. Does anyone disagree with using UTC now? There's no good time to capture. Right? I either do now, which means that wherever the server is, we get that date time, or do UTC now. UTC now, by default, is easy to convert. Well, you haven't seen my code, have you? So we can worry about that later. If we store it as now, we've got to know where it was stored to know what it was being converted from. Yeah. So it's definitely something that you have to consider when you're storing data, right? What date am I putting on this? You'll see a lot of systems just do now. But that's not right. Because again, when we go international with this product, and millions and millions of people use it, then if everything's stored in New York, then that's a challenge. Okay, so let's do a migration. Remove lost migration. I should probably have done that, shouldn't I? Okay. So login sessions is gone. Nice. Okay. Add migration. Consume. Consumption. Log. There's a bit of a change here. Hold on. So I've called it consumption. as an object, right? I've called the actual collection logs. We need a configuration, because the entity framework won't like that. Does the configuration already exist? Does it? Did I just miss something? Billy, thank you very much for the follow. Appreciate it. Hope you're well. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. The stream is definitely open to discussion, conversation. What are we doing here? Why do you not think the directory with a name already exists? Open in Laura. Not wrong. So we'll add consumption configuration. So I called it consumption, right? If you're looking at the database, Ian Bart, hello, sorry, my apologies, you got lost in the stuff there. Welcome. How are you doing today? So I've called this consumption. I've referred to it as logs in the tracking side of things, the logging consumption, right? You're good. Yeah, I'm doing good today. So getting some productivity out of this. We've got our Blazor app, Blazor Web Assembly app up and running a little bit. We've got logging working today, and we're just trying to track our first real feature. So making progress. So I'm a big believer in, what we use in the code doesn't necessarily mean that that's what we use in the SQL Server, right? The SQL Server, again, if you're looking at the database, why is that? I completely lost my taskbar. If I'm looking in the database, right, or that, then new project, this is water, drink water, this window. Yes, I know, I've got it open. Actually, yeah, this one I can open here, it's easier. If I'm opening this database here, that doesn't exist anymore. I have accounts. Do I want consumptions as the record, or do I want logs? Does logs mean something, as far as I'm concerned? Still need your password. Okay. You're welcome to it. Let me bring it up again just to see. It's Bob. So yeah, I just want to make sure that I'm not just naming this the code readability, the code readability and the database construction don't always go hand in hand. oftentimes you're looking at the code to know which table to look at, and you say, oh, consumption. Okay, well, I'll look at the consumption table. So you've got to know this configuration is here. But if I call the data type log, what does that mean, right? If I call it consumption logs in the table, in the DB context stuff, and then the table is consumption logs. Do I call this consumed? Right. There's all manner of challenges to this one. So I call it logs right now. We can always do migrations later. There's no challenge to that. There's no problem with that, rather. And then I need to make sure that I'm doing unconfiguring options. I think it's unconfiguring. That's it. Configurations. Auto creating. I was getting mixed up. Apply configurations from assembly, type of application DB context assembly. So that will automatically load the configurations. That will say that that's, I think fluid amount is a great example of this. The database you want to store in a single unit format to save space, whereas in your business code using something fancy like the library kind of pointed out, sometimes work very well. Yeah. And we're going to evolve this, right? This is not the end of this piece, right? We're going to come back over stuff. So what are we working on now? We're working on the drink water app. We're working on logging some consumption from one of Unicus. How you doing? Of course, I just like, no, I appreciate it. wasn't dismissing it. Yeah, absolutely. But it is an example, right, where what we store in the database is not necessarily the same thing. So what we're aiming to get here is we need our consumption service. It just seems a bit silly. Again, if you're watching this and you're thinking that is ridiculous, right? That's fine. This app is not built perfectly to begin with. I'm not trying to make it perfect. What I'm trying to do is write code, provide an example of what could happen, and then give good, solid discussion around what can we change, why do we need to refactor it, how do we improve things once we've got something working. The goal is not to make this perfect from the start. So we inject our repository. Right, I've spent a long time worrying about, whether people will disagree with what I'm writing, or whether I'm writing it the correct way, or whether I'm writing it poorly, etc. In reality, writing something will often teach you more than sitting thinking about writing something, right? Just putting the DB pieces in there. Sorry. The dogs are getting restless. It's almost time. Fluid ounces. Assume. I don't like abbreviations. So we're going to do user ID. Yeah, me too. Glad you got to hang out. So you picked a single unit measure. You will. So you missed that part of the discussion. We kind of got into a bit of a discussion on what it should be, and kind of landed on we'll do one. So we'll start with fluid ounces, but then we'll have we'll spend a lot more time going back over that and refactoring that later and talking about the implications of doing that. Right? Because again, I don't want to get blocked on over engineering that part. Yeah. Not good. Not many people can code in front of people. Yeah. Yeah, just go ahead. Streaming is definitely difficult. I don't mind being wrong about the code. I think this is actually a very good way of demonstrating the pragmatism of I need to get something done. I'm not going to stop and just pick everything apart. It's not. No. When you say 3 times over engineering, you can summon me. You had 2 good options, either fluid ounces or atoms consumed. Well, we kind of get into milliliters, the fluid ounces. There's a decimal conversion there at some point, so it's kind of making sure that we're picking something. But in reality, we've got to talk about, okay, well, let's say the PM, which is me in this case, said, I want to capture fluid ounces. We build everything around fluid ounces. Our labels indicate fluid ounces, etc. If someone wants to put in pints or liters as a measurement in there, the number they put in, even though it says fluid ounces, it will work for them until we implement a conversion. Because then it'll take all their numbers and convert back and forth to fluid ounces, right? So, yeah. Every unit is a good base. You can convert between all of them, but you have to stay consistent with the complete average. Yeah. PM. Can't make the mind up at all. Keeps changing things. So what I'm aiming for right now is I just need to get this piece in and we can sum up. Did I add the migration for that? Am I losing my mind? No, I did not. Add migration. I needed the log there. So I needed the configuration there before. Add migration. We'll call this log consumption. That might not build. I know it built. There you go. Okay. So now we can consume. Being pragmatic is a gem. You don't see it nowadays. Lately I've been thinking of doing a small project in which everything is created by a user. And there are 2 bad sides to this. 1, user IDs in every table. Bulk updates and inserts have to get them in memory first and check the above condition in for each. It's super bad. What will be your solution? All the tables, then check if the user ID. There's grams for water. So Twitch stream, you don't get the benefit of seeing the YouTube stream at the same time. So I'm seeing comments from Ian in the YouTube stream. That's what I'm reading through. Lately I've been thinking of doing a small project in which everything is created by a user. The solution I came up with is this. I would put user ID in all tables, then check if the user ID claims equal to user ID. Putting the user ID in is the right way. I mean, in this instance, right, I'm logging consumption. So my model for consumption is I have to track it to a user ID. So now when I'm making the consumption request, I'm pulling the user ID and attaching that to that record. I mean, if you don't need it, like if there's nested objects, etc. Like if it's an issue in my head, maybe there's a solution I shouldn't do anything. But maybe if you have nested objects associated with those objects. You don't need user ID on them, right? You just need user ID on the ones that your user is actually inserting into the system. What's it called? Supportive data doesn't necessarily need it. Uh-oh. No, it's the same as grams for water. Sure, 1 gram of water, but amount in grams would hurt. I will track consuming other liquids like coffee. Add a DB. That will work on aggregates, yeah, but not on standalone entities. Yeah, you can't. I mean, if you're attaching data to a user, you don't have many options short of creating schema per user or doing something like that, right? So what you don't want to do is put user ID on data that doesn't need to be, right? So lookups, etc. Yeah. Ball did I open? Yeah. You put the our conversation around units and measure before got this way is fine. So for those who haven't worked in a team, by the way, right? This is team building. Right? If you're working on this, let's say you guys decide you want to actually do something and contribute to this code base in the long term, right? And you work together on it, or you agree, or you discuss it. This sort of stuff, even if I'm not trying to bring the mood down in any way, I'm just saying that this is team building. This is the fun part, right? Knowing that you can joke with people and have a joke about things, that's useful in teams. Knowing what people agree and disagree with is useful in teams. So, I think the silliness is actually a good component of any team. I would be too sensible for this system. Like, joking aside, did you have a place where the design is worked on? Not right this second. So right now, all I've done is I've tracked. Ian, I haven't forgotten about your comment. I mean, user ID. If you're building a small system, build it and see. Have a look at what your actual challenges are before overthinking them. Would be my advice there. It's definitely worth considering what you need. So this is log consumption, right? You should be able to log a consumption amount, right? As a participant, it's useful. So all I've done is I've tracked my initial thoughts on what the stories should be, right? I didn't want to spend, again, in the same vein, I didn't want to spend too much time. I just wanted to check from work. Sorry. I didn't want to spend too much time overanalyzing, overthinking, and building out something that people weren't interested in doing, right? You can just type !water. To this, there is no link. So what I was going to do is, once we got to a good point, if the participation was high enough and people were interested in it, I would move the remainder of these into GitHub issues, right? And then open up the opportunity for people to take them up and work on, similar to what we've done in the past, right? But obviously, having done this in the past a little bit, I realized that, once you start doing that, you have to kind of get some sort of cycle going. Otherwise, things stagnate, right? We've been here before. I realized that. So, yeah, I was going to do the initial pieces, get it up and running, then move these into GitHub issues. So if people actually are genuinely starting to show interest in this, I will happily move whatever I don't get done now up into GitHub issues and start building those out. And I'll also put together some sort of diagramming for the way it's built and the way it should be, so we can refer to it. But again, I didn't want to overcommit my time if people weren't actually that engaged with it. So once these next few are done, then we can definitely discuss that. So Okay, I really need to wire this up quickly. Consumption service, so we should build a log. Then in our app, we should build to builder services that add transient. Consumption repository. Yeah. Ian, I don't know how to put commands into YouTube at this point. But if you go to, I think at the link to the GitHub, the TBD Friends GitHub is in the card for YouTube. So you're more than welcome to go and check out the code there as well. TBD Friends is the stream channel, stream entity I created for all projects stream related. That isn't my personal GitHub. Then builder.services.add scoped. Oh, nice. How'd that work out? Working well. So I can do progress for a long running command. Haha, nice. Okay, so what we're going to try and do here quickly is I'm going to inject my consumption service. Right. Then in here, we're going to test something. And then I have to go because I think bugs are not happy with me. Of course, I get to this point right at the end of the stream, so. You're very welcome, Apex, as always. Thank you very much for coming and hanging out. I hope that. So Apex has recently got themselves a new job, so they aren't streaming it at the same time as we used to do. But it's also working on a very cool game design, and is now streaming in the evenings. I don't think this is going to be one. I don't think I'm going to be here. I don't think I'm going to manage this one quite the way I wanted to do it, right? So I think I should drink water, I think. Yeah, I checked out some of your reposts on TBD Friends. Yeah, so obviously I've been streaming for several years. A lot of those projects are now older. Sometimes those are projects like coding challenges might end up going to that system, right? Again, if you're interested in the coding challenge stuff, I'm going to do another one next Friday. Well, those sorts of things where we've done those sorts of challenges and stuff, those are what I generally do on the on that channel. So there's lots of things like mediator implementations where we've kind of done something similar to this, where we've gone and, hey, how do we do this, and built it out just to learn what the challenges are for doing it. That calls thing is going to kick me in the butt again, isn't it? I don't think it's the calls thing, because the calls is definitely allowed, but it's doing that. But unfortunately, I have no more time. I am out of time. So I'll commit everything I've got. So you definitely have the latest version of this. You're more than welcome to go check the code out. Removed logging sessions, added log for consumption. What else did I do in this one? That's it. Yeah. So code is there. It will be. I want to set up Tailwind for this thing. I don't like that bootstrap. Again, if you want to build your own client, you're more than welcome. If you want to suggest using Tailwind, we can definitely do that sort of stuff. The client is definitely the most the first easily touched thing. The API and stuff, I would say, if you're interested in doing some of that, let's get some more functionality built in there before we start doing PRs on that. Because again, all PRs will be done on stream. So, not as a shaming thing, but more of a realistic discussion around. So, but again, you've been there before me. So, yeah. Okay. So thank you very much for joining me. I really do appreciate you guys hanging out. I appreciate all the chat. It's been a fantastic stream. Just in general, having that discussion is a lot of fun. I will raid over to Toolbox. Going so soon. I know. They kind of pay me money to do work. But yeah. So I'm going to raid up to Fullbox. Fullbox is building a game. It's called Block Shop. It's up on Steam. You can wishlist it. If you like puzzle games, it's a fantastic little game. He has a demo available on itch. So yeah, I would highly recommend checking it out. But in the meantime, thank you very much. Have a great rest of your day. See you around. And yeah, I'll see you all again soon. I'll be back tomorrow with more Agile platform. So later all. Thank you.